Rick.
Got it.
Excellent. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you're watching this. It's another day here in Christchurch, Canterbury. I won't say it's a pleasant day, but overcast. But hey, the good news is I'm upright, breathing. I don't know about you, Frank, but I enjoy that fact.
Definitely, that's for real. Yep. Beautiful day here in the Waikato. A good Waikato fog. I can see about 1.5 meters in front of me. So it might turn out a good day.
Oh, excellent. Well, I know you've got to get away, so we'll kick in and get into the heart of the matter. All right. So the first one I have is a response to I think we put a plea out last week or the week before to people about some veteran who had experienced the situation where they had an appointment arranged through VA, and on the day they get a notification saying from VA telling them that, oh, that appointment with the private hospital has been cancelled. We're trying to put you into the public system. So since then, I've had two more comments. The same thing is happening, and one was just yesterday. A person notified me that they were all set up to go to the appointment, and they've received notification to say, "Oh, we're going to try and put you through the public health system for surgery for an already accepted condition." So it's not like it's something new; it's an accepted condition. And the interesting thing is that NZ Health or Health New Zealand have already told him that through the public system, he doesn't qualify for the surgery. So it sounds like Veterans Affairs, they're under the thumb. It comes back to I guess finances, and they're trying to save money by putting people into the public health system as opposed to going private. Now, in the case of the last one, it's most likely, I would suspect, that they're going to have to go private if Health New Zealand have already turned them down for going through the public system. So be aware, it's happening. And if you're one of those people who's had that happen to them recently, let us know, drop us a line, and of course, all the information you give is protected, confidentiality and so forth. It's just the general circumstances, so we can't identify people. So what do you think about that, Frank?
Yeah, it's shocking, really. If you've already been accepted and they want to put you through the health system, well, the health system should just take you. It's been proven, but I know what the health system's like.
Yeah, it's creaking. It's overloaded, overworked, underpaid, and now we're trying to add in these the veteran contingent, and so I don't know how that's going to work out at all. But watch the space. I'm sure we'll find out over time. The other thing I have, so I get occasionally people send me little bits of information and so on. This one's quite interesting, I thought. So it's an Australian article about the attrition rate of NZ Defence. And that's quite interesting. So what the guts of the matter was that the attrition rate, I think, got as high as 15 or 17%, something like that. And they were, in this article, trumpeting the fact that it's dropped to 10%. Now, if you're a cynical bugger like I am, the first thing you say is, oh, if it's 17 or 15 and it's dropped to 10, that means most of the people who were going to leave have left. And the tide of people leaving is diminishing. And I think it was 17% amongst the Navy. They were the highest. 17% of their workforce have gone. And the article went on to point out that the Navy last year, I think, only managed to have 5 of the 9 vessels at sea. Now, it doesn't say that they were at sea all at the same time, because as I understand it, they can't. There's not enough troops to man all of the vessels. So what they do is the vessels come into port, you get a couple of 3 days off or whatever, and you're back on the next vessel heading out of town. Because some of those, specifically amongst the technical crews or appointments on board the ship, they just don't have the staff to keep the vessels afloat. And of course, if they're putting other vessels to one side that aren't going to sea, my understanding is they continue to deteriorate if they're not worked. Just like anything, you leave an old car sitting in your garage for 20 years, it needs a bit of work. And so if a vessel's tied up alongside for too long, the cost of maintenance goes up, and the is it really worthwhile? And the other interesting little point that popped out, and I'm sorry again, I think it's generally NZ Defence. So they were trumpeting the fact that the input rate has gone up between the end of 2023 and when this article was written. 43 people, which works out between the services at about 13 people per service. So that's really, that's good. That's solving the problem. And I think the reality is, and maybe it's been with us for a while and we just haven't realised, that basically New Zealand is defenceless. We can't operate our naval capabilities. Our Air Force are good cargo movers, and we've got some new planes. They're not so bad for spying on submarines. I see in one of the articles that the new Poseidons are up off the Sea of Japan, working for the UN, looking at, I think it's breaches of the embargoes against North Korea. So that's nice that they're getting some operational experience up there. And of course, we know from within the Army that although we're supposed to have two battalions, one battalion in Palmerston North or at Linton and one in Burnham, they're like enlarged rifle companies. So really quite small. We can't defend ourselves, and we can only contribute in a very small way to the overall story of defence globally. So there you go. Bit of a shocker, really. I think I was quite disappointed when I read that. How about you, Frank? What do you think?
Oh, it's a sad state of affairs. I talk to people in the Navy. They'll be on one ship, as you say, and next minute they're off onto another ship to make up the crew. And it's not as if they have to have a lot of people on a ship. We would have 250 on a frigate. Now I think they have about 100 and something. So they're terribly short. I went into the naval base, and you don't see anyone. It's empty. There's no one around. It's amazing. I'm really stunned when I think that when I joined, we had 170 something in our intake, and we had 4 intakes a year.
Wow.
And I saw their passing out parade the other day, and they had about 10.
Wow.
Not even enough for one per ship, nearly.
So this pretty parlous state of NZ Defence is the
It is.
summer. And I know,
It is.
I'm not knocking the Navy, but I think back in the late 70s or thereabouts, some of the vessels were tied up at Devonport for a while or were mothballed because they couldn't get the crews in. Is that right, Frank, or am I mistaken there?
Wouldn't be in the 70s. I was in the 70s, and we were
Okay.
pretty well manned then. But I believe it would have been late 80s.
Oh, okay. Yep.
They mothballed several of the patrol craft, offshore patrol craft, and they even had one crewed by an Australian crew, just so they can get him to sea.
Okay. All right. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's
Frank,
do some recruiting. Come on, you lot.
You've got some other things, Frank, you want to talk about?
Yeah, just about the request we had for people to submit their what happened to them when they applied for their Veterans Independence Program.
Yep.
We put up a form on the Southeast Asian Veterans Facebook page, and I believe the web page. I haven't had a look at that, but Murray did a good job. We got only 2 replies. We had 11 people on the Facebook page, but only 2 actually replied.
Yep.
One of them actually replied just to say that he'd been declined, and the other one replied to say that he just filled his form in, and then the information came out in the news. Don't bother sending it in, type of thing.
Oh,
so
wow.
he didn't send it in. So they both, at least they had took the time to reply. So there can't be too many out there.
Right. Okay. So there was a question, I think, last week about why we're asking that question. Are we going to pass the information to the RSA, etc., etc.? So the idea behind it all is that we need to know how many people are out there who've been affected, so that a response can be formulated in some form. Now, yes, certainly we can't do it all on our own. We need to associate or work with RSAs to help those that in the different areas, Canterbury, Auckland, Wellington, whatever, get some service. Because if you've applied to have your lawns cut because of health conditions and you're not getting supported through the public health system or the other government agencies, then you need some support, and we need to develop a plan that allows through the greater RSA network for you to have windows cleaned, so on and so forth, in that period when you're not getting any service, and you may never get any service. So we need to kind of think about filling that gap in some way. So that's where the information's going, and we're not taking personal details, names and addresses and so forth. It'll just be the numbers that we want. And I think through one of the other organisations I belong to, we'll zap off an OIA to ask them just how many people have been affected and what's the breakdown regionally, to see what we can ascertain from that and how we can assist. So that's where the information's going, and that's what it's going to be used for. Okay, what else? Oh, yes, there's a couple of things. So this is another one. It's a site I visit on Facebook occasionally. It pops up on the old dial. Have a look. Quite an interesting one. It's called Vet Blogs, and it sources information from all around the globe. And the one I saw just the other day related to a woman who had served in the RAF on the Chinook. She was an air crew on a Chinook. And yes, she went operational Afghanistan. I think something like 10 tours to Afghanistan over the time it was in operation. And she was, doing medevacs and things like that. So I got to see some pretty horrendous looking scenes in the back of the Chinook. But her service was terminated on medical grounds. Now, you would think it might be through PTSD or something similar, but no. She had over 3,000 flying hours in the back of the Chinook. And the reason for her discharge was because the shaking of the aircraft had caused damage to her spine and neck. Now, if we take out the operational part and your air crew in New Zealand and you don't fly operationally, but you log up a lot of hours, the chances are that your non-operational service can have you terminated from serving in the NZ Defence. So even though you might be Scheme 2, no operational service, you'd be shunted towards ACC, who don't understand the exigencies of the service. So that's an interesting one. So there may be other conditions that are related to just service generally. Kind of says that it's not good for your health. What do you think, Frank?
Yeah, that's amazing. That I know I have actually been in a Chinook and they shake like hell.
So you have a think about that, like maybe it's something that, so tonight there's a meeting of the affiliates, so those associations who are affiliated to the RNZ RSA, and they're having their own little meeting, like the National Council in February had a meeting about the way forward for RNZ RSA and other RSAs, constitutions, that sort of thing. And I think a proposal is in there for changing the name of the affiliates to something else. So that'll be an interesting watch. And interesting comments. And one of the things from the feedback I've had from the National Council was something like a significant number of those there. I think there were 9 groups who were doing discussions. something like 8 of those groups representing maybe 80 odd RSAs were struggling with membership, struggling to get younger people in, and were aware of the fact that the existing membership was declining due to age and people passing away. So the future of the RSA is under a bit of a threat from many things at the moment. So it'll be interesting. And once we get some feedback from tonight, we'll put that up and pass it around so you can have a read and see what's going on. For those of you who served in Singapore and enjoyed your time in Singapore, it seems that the tables have been reversed now. And I noticed an article the other day where the Singapore Armed Forces want to come to New Zealand and fly their drones. So they're using, and they already come to New Zealand and utilise Wairuru Camp, which is another one of those ghost cities, a bit like Devonport, Frank. I'm sure in your day it was a bustling kind of place back in the 70s.
He sure was. Especially those wet canteens at lunchtime.
So that's a bit interesting. So we've had a changeover. We used to go up there to exercise and to stay, and now they're coming to us, leasing our facilities. So that's good that the relationship between Singapore and New Zealand is good, but also that the armed forces relationship is still quite strong. And a little note I received in the email yesterday from Veterans Affairs. Apparently there's now a new entitlement available to the children of veterans who served in J-Force or at Mururoa. So if you've received that and your children are entitled, I would suggest you have a look at the conditions and see what happens. And so that's about us, Frank, unless you have something.
Yeah, the only thing that I'd like to see that New Zealand Defence have recognised the service of 3 Squadron up in the Solomon Islands, and on the 15th they awarded them the New Zealand Operational Service Medal and the General Service Medal Solomon Islands. Once again, it was a delayed award, which to me sort of tends to make it a bit of a, we thought about it afterwards award.
And is that the full NZOSM that allows them to access Veterans Affairs support?
I didn't go into that because I only just read the article on the news the other day.
Right.
I should have gone into the Veterans Affairs to see if it is operational service. Surely it must be.
Yeah. But we're getting used to that
anyway.
We're getting used to the Clayton's NZOSM.
Yeah. Mm. But congratulations to you all anyway. I believe there was 100 of you.
Oh, excellent. Good. Yeah. Good on you. Well done. All right. So now we come to the little bit more somber place. And Frank, the ball's in your court for the crossing the bar.
Okay. Well, we've had 5 sailors cross the bar in the last week. And the first is Fairfax Dennis Peter. He had the Order of St. John. He was a commander, retired from the Royal New Zealand Navy and 20 years in the Royal Navy. Dennis crossed the bar after a long battle with cancer. His service has been held on Monday. NZ 19652, weight Dennis John, Royal New Zealand Navy mechanical engineer. Joined May 1970, crossed the bar on the 9th of April. A service has been held for Dennis at Auckland Memorial Park. NZ 14688, Curry Don, Chief Petty Officer Electrician, Royal New Zealand Navy, served 53 to 73, crossed the bar on the 2nd of April 2024. At Don's request, there was no service. And the recent one, Haggett Brian, I don't have his service number, peacefully crossed the bar in the early hours of the 14th of April at his home in Devonport. No further details are available. NZ 15468, McLean Robert Donald, leading seaman, Royal New Zealand Navy, cross the bar on the 14th of April at 2024. A private service is to be held. So I pass on our condolences to all the friends and families of those sailors.
Thank you, Frank. I only have the one today for the last post, 39664. Timu H or Herbert, NZ Regiment and RNZIR. Herbert served in the Alpha Company, 1 NZ Regiment 6163, and passed away on Thursday, the 11th of April in Christchurch. Nothing from RNZAF today, so we'll do the ode. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we shall remember them.
We will remember them, lest we forget.
Thank you for correcting me, Frank. It is, we will remember them. And with that in mind, Anzac Day coming up next week, next Thursday. So I hope you're all shining the shoes, pressing the trousers, putting the jacket on, making sure the shirt and tie are ready and presentable to those of you who are entitled to wear medals. I'm sure that they'll be in pride of place. So yeah, that's about us for today, and we look forward to catching up with you next week. And stay safe, stay in contact with those that you know, look after them, and if you need help and assistance in any way, following either a bereavement in the family or your own personal circumstances where you need to become involved with Veterans Affairs or the RSA Support Network, either get in touch with the local support advisors through the RSA, or make contact with some of the executive for Siava, and we'll help guide you to the people who can help. So there you go. Take care. Be easy, Frank. Look after yourself, and
I will.
We'll catch you same time, same bat channel next week.
All right. Bye.